Welcome into the Nike Hot Seat. I'm Emily Eman, chatting with our Nike volleyball athletes across the world to get to know them a little bit more and to dive deeper. And today I am joined by the incredible Zoe Fleck, who's an All-American and national champion at Texas this last fall, now playing professionally in Germany. Zoe, thank you so much for being here. I know you've been playing volleyball since you were pretty young, since you were 9 years old. Do you remember a moment or time in your career that made you fall in love with the game?
Honestly, one of my first volleyball memories is like peppering on the street with my mom when I was like just about to try out for club, my first club volleyball. We were just passing the ball back and forth, and she was like, every pass should be the same. And I was like spraying ball left and right, like little 9-year-old, totally uncoordinated. And I always look back at that and remember she was like, every ball should look the same. And that's just been like a memory in my head since I was 9 years old.
I absolutely love that. Do you remember a time where, obviously when you start off, you are spraying balls left and right, shanking things left and right. Do you remember a time where you were like, okay, I'm pretty good at this?
I was never really that kind of player. Like I never really thought I was very good. And especially because I wasn't very highly recruited out of high school either. So I think the first time, like when I won Pac-12 Libero of the Year, everyone was like, oh, congratulations. And I was like, really? Like they thought I was that good? That's awesome. And so, yeah. And so I think each time like I ever get that kind of recognition or someone says something to me, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I guess I'm doing all right. I can take a step back and like be okay for a second.
Well, your college career is interesting. You mentioned how you weren't that highly recruited. You played 2 years at UC Santa Barbara, then made the switch to UCLA, where you were two-time Pac-12 Libero of the Year. Played your final season at Texas this last fall, where you were Big 12 Libero of the Year, a first-team All-American, and then a national champion in December. How do you feel like you developed not only as a player, but as a person since you started college 5 years ago?
Yeah, I bounced around a bit. Yeah, so coming out of high school, I didn't have any Power Five offers, so I wanted to stay close to home, and so ended up at UCSB, which was actually my mom's alma mater. And just kind of mentally, I was a little bit low on confidence. My parents had just divorced, and so I ended up just not really being a great teammate, not really connecting that well with the people around me, and so just didn't have very much fun. And after my freshman season, I played DS to a senior libero. I was kind of ready to quit volleyball, honestly. And so I basically talked to my parents, and they said, okay, give it one more year, stick it out, give it 100%. And then if you still are really not having a good time, then you can be done with it and just be a student at UCSB. So my sophomore year, I had a little bit more playing time. I got to play libero at UCSB. We had a great year. We actually lost to Texas in the second round of the tournament at Gregory. Probably still to this day, one of the most fun volleyball matches I've ever played in. And then I still like just didn't really feel very valued in the gym. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can see if I can get some scholarship offers or play somewhere else. Because I was also paying for school at UCSB. So then I decided to transfer, which was super scary. By the way, some people think that like transferring is super easy, or that people like at the flip of a coin or first hint of adversity will just like get in the portal. Transferring, like telling your coaches that you're getting in the portal and then having no idea where you're going to end up is super scary. And no one that I've ever talked to who transferred was like taking it lightly. So just wanted to talk that in there. Then UCSB, I had 2 amazing years there. UCLA, sorry. I had 2 amazing years at UCLA. We were really good my freshman or my first year there, and even better my second year there. We should have been competing for the title both times, but we just had some key injuries. But then Texas was just amazing. I ended up going there because UCLA didn't have a scholarship for me for my last year, which was devastating because and kind of embarrassing to be in the portal. Do things so differently there. Everything is like national champion standard.
Yeah.
Which I just didn't even know kind of existed, from like rehab to practices to nutrition, everything to caring for the players. And so I think throughout my collegiate career, as I developed, like I was seeing different things in each program and getting different things out of each program, and just learning so much more about myself, learning that I was carrying so much shame at UCSB, which is why I didn't connect great with the people around me, learning how to deal with adversity and injuries at UCLA, and then just feeling so cared for and valued, and then ending up winning a national championship at Texas. It really was quite the ride.
And you mentioned, running camps, have a merch line. I know you feel really strongly and passionate about having interests outside of volleyball. You're an animal rights advocate. You started a business with those volleyball camps. You've picked up other sports over the last few years, tennis, boxing, what have you. I'm wondering, why is it important for you to have those interests outside of your sport?
Well, this actually came from my partner. So he didn't come from a volleyball background, but he came from other sports. Mm-hmm. And so he would come and look at some of the things that I do in volleyball, the techniques I was using. And he was like, why are you doing that? I was like, I don't know. I was taught to do that. And he was like, well, this sport does it this way, and they're trying to solve the same problem as you are in volleyball. Why don't you try this instead? And I was like, no one does that. That's so weird. But then I'd actually try it, and it works. And so he kind of taught me that having this expanse of knowledge that comes from different sports, that especially sports like tennis, that has so much money and research and time poured into it, that like they have the most efficient ways of doing things. Mm-hmm. So if you can pick things up from there, like footwork patterns, split step, reading the ball, movement patterns, like, and bring it back into volleyball, to me that is like kind of how you level up in the game, and also is an awesome way to just learn, like to start over and stuck at something. Like I was terrible at tennis, no racket sports ever in my life before, started tennis so bad. And it's so difficult as an athlete to just be terrible at something athletic. But then to have to come back day after day and just say, okay, what can I do to get better today? What am I working on today? It's just exactly what you're trying to do on the volleyball court, and you just get extra practice at it over and over and over again. So mental challenge, physical challenge, and all the same tools that you need in volleyball translate over. So it was like such a big game changer for me to just learn all these new sports.
What do you think the biggest thing that translates from tennis to volleyball is that you use in your game?
Honestly, the split step.
Yeah.
Every single tennis player, men's, women's side, top 500, I don't know, like all use this split step as they're receiving serve, as their opponent is contacting the ball. And it's how they're able to cover so much ground laterally and forwards and backwards, because they don't know where the ball is going to be next, which is exactly how it works in volleyball. You need to be able to get to balls that are far away from you, and you don't know if it's going to be left, right, forward, back. And so figuring out how to time the split step, how to be athletic and explosive out of it, that's not really something that's taught a ton in volleyball, but is super, super prevalent in tennis, is really prevalent in like goalkeepers in soccer, which I think is also a really similar position to like being a defender in volleyball. Yeah. So you take these super high level sports and you're like, okay, how are the highest level athletes doing what they do? Common denominator, split step. And so I tried it in volleyball. All of a sudden my range gets so much bigger because I'm able to explode and go laterally for balls.
Yeah. Switching gears, I know a big part of your volleyball camps that you mentioned is empowering the next generation of athletes. I'm wondering, what impact do you hope to leave on the athletes that participate in your camps?
I want to inspire people to take control of their own learning. Really, I think there are so many people who play volleyball in the States, and especially volleyball being the #1 participation sport for females, that sometimes things can get really spread out, and like what one club is teaching is completely different from what another club is teaching. It's completely different from what they teach in college, from what they teach on the national team. And so everything can just get really, really spread out. And so kids can kind of be not trapped, but like they only know what they know, right? And so the way I changed my career was by watching film and doing my own learning process, as well as learning in practice from my coaching staff. And so kind of teaching kids how to watch film, how to learn on their own, and take control of their learning process and inspire them to do that, because so many kids come to me and they're like, I love volleyball. I want to play like you. Like, how did you do that? And I was like, awesome. Like, I'm a totally normal person. I'm like 5'5". I didn't get a scholarship out of high school, like, and I won a national championship. So yeah, like, just watch the film. Here's what you're looking for. I'll teach you some of these techniques in our camp, and then you go and you take this back to your club and then take control of your own learning. So it's really just meant to teach people how they can be their best teacher.
So when you're watching film, do you watch mostly footage of yourself, or do you have liberos, whether it's at the national team level, maybe across the world, that you really like watching and can learn from?
I personally think that the best way to level up volleyball is to watch yourself. Like, go back and watch your practices, go back and watch your matches, see if what you're trying to do is actually matching what you are doing. Figure out if there are balls that you're consistently getting beat on in serve, receive, and defense, and how you can adjust. Like, why are you getting beat on those balls, and how can you maybe make that more efficient? If you don't know the answer to that, then watch someone who plays at a higher level, figure out how they're getting those balls. What are they doing that you're not doing? And then kind of combine the two and start having different goals in practice so that maybe you can dig that ball next time. So it's kind of, for me, been a mixture of both, for sure.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Zoe, you are inspirational. You are empowering for the next generation. For myself, I'm like, I want to be Zoe when I grow up. Thank you so much for sharing a bit more about yourself and some little insiders into the game of volleyball. You are the best. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome chatting with you.